Hello listeners, this video discusses The Zoo Story, a one-act play by American playwright Edward Albee. This was Edward Albee's first play, written in 1958, and it got completed in just 3 weeks. The Zoo Story was originally titled Peter and Jerry. The prequel of The Zoo Story is Homelife, which is written in 2007. Let us have a look about Edward Albee. His full name is Edward Franklin Albee III. He was born in the year 1928 and died in the year 2016. He was an American playwright. He is known for his best play, The Zoo Story, The Sandbox in the year 1959, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, 1962, A Delicate Balance, 1966, Three Tall Women, 1994, The Goat or Who's Sylvia, 2002, The American Dream, 1961, All Over, 1971, Seascape, 1975. Some critics argue that some of Albert's works are identified into theatre of absurd. Theatre of the absurd is a style of theatre that plays represent. The play largely focuses on ideas of existentialism and expresses what happens when human existence lacks meaning or purpose and communications break down. The structure of theatre of the absurd plays is typically a round shape with the finishing point the same as the starting point. In this plays, logical construction and argument give way to irrational and illogical speech and to the ultimate conclusion, that is silence. For example, we have Samuel Beckett's Waiting for Godot. Another playwrights who touched on theatre of the absurd themes are Eugene Ionesco and Jean Genet. Let us have a small outline of the play, The Zoo Story. The story explores the themes of isolation, loneliness, miscommunication, as anathematization, social disparity, and dehumanization in a materialistic world. These are all the themes of Theatre of the Absurd as well. This play was premiered in West Berlin in the year 1959, along with Samuel Beckett's Krapp's Last Tape. Further, the play was premiered in the United States. The play won the Obie Award in the year 1916. After writing the play Homelife in the year 2007, Edward Albee said that this play would be a first act of Zoo Story, and the Zoo Story is the second act, and both these plays comes under the title At Home at the Zoo. So initially this was titled as Peter and Jerry. Let us take a look of the characters of the play. Peter, who's a middle-aged upper middle class man. Edward Albee describes this character to be a normal man in every way, and he's neither homely nor handsome. He lives in an apartment on the Upper East Side of New York with his wife and 2 daughters. He works as a textbook publisher. The next character is Jerry, who is slightly younger than Peter. He is a less wealthy man. He is also erratic. He is possessed of a great weariness, but also possesses great strength. Jerry has no living family, nor does he have a romantic partner. He struggles to maintain or establish sexual or interpersonal intimacy with people. He lives in a run-down boarding house on the Upper West Side, and he is not employed. Looking at the characteristics of Jerry, he is a very physical person, but he behaves violently. He also engineers suicidal thoughts, but Jerry seemed to be very intelligent. These are the 2 characters that we have in this novel. Let us see what these characters do in the play. The story happens on a Sunday afternoon in New York City's Central Park. As I mentioned, Peter, a middle-class man, reads quietly on a park bench, which he usually does every Sunday. He is interrupted by a younger man, Jerry, who somewhat looks a bit shabby and who stands near the bench and announces that he has been to the zero. Peter has not got any clue of why the stranger has chosen to talk to him. He tries to read his book, but he couldn't return to his book. He started to engage with this young man, Jerry. Jerry tries to bring up something mysterious that happened in the zoo. The scene in the play is like Peter is still sitting on the bench and Jerry is still standing next to him. They begin to discuss about Peter's family. So Peter is married and has two daughters. He has also got two cats and two parakeets. Parakeet is a small bird, usually with green feathers and a long tail, that lives in hot countries. Listening to Peter's story, Jerry assumes that Peter is not fully satisfied with his domestic life. Peter says that he wants sons and dogs. Peter is upset that Jerry has asked about such private information, and then Jerry apologizes for it. He further explains that he doesn't talk to a lot of people, but that when he does, he likes to got to know somebody, or when he finds comfortable, he shares his intimate things. Then Peter expresses that the questions of Jerry make him feel like a guinea pig. But he still continues to answer all the questions of Jerry. He also tells Jerry that he works in textbook publishing and lives in a nice apartment on the Upper East Side. Now, Barry narrates his stories. He explains to Peter that he traveled all over New York City in order to approach the zoo from the right direction. Hearing this, Peter guesses that Jerry lives in Greenwich Village, but Jerry accuses Peter of trying to pigeonhole him and reveals that he lives on the Upper West Side in a rundown boarding house. Pigeonhole meaning assuming a person that he belongs to a particular category. Further, Jerry starts to describe the other tenants in his boarding house. He also describes about his minimal list of possessions that he has and his family's backstory. After some more discussion about the zoo, Jerry, sitting and standing all together, quickly started to talk about the landlady in the boarding house and describes about her dog. He further says that he is disgusted with the landlady who drinks heavily and often comes on to Jerry. Peter, now hearing this, is horrified and comments that it's hard to believe that people such as that they really are, because he says that these characters can only exist in books. Jerry then says that every time when he enters the hall, the landlady's dog tries to attack him. He also says that he had tried to befriend the dog. He has tried to feed the dog with hamburger meat every day for a week. But the landlady's dog would eat the meat and then still attack Jerry. And Jerry further formulated a new plan to murder the dog with poisoned meat. Hearing this confession of Jerry, Peter is shocked. Further, Jerry explains that his attempt to kill the dog was unsuccessful. Jerry then explains that after failing at both befriending and murdering the dog, he was curious about what his new relationship with the dog might come to. He says that he felt that if he couldn't make a start with the dog, then he may not be able to find connection or understanding anywhere, maybe not even with God. Exhausted by these nonsense talks of Jerry, thinking that he has no other way to rescue himself from this conversation, Jerry further describes his first post poisoning encounter with the landlady's dog. He says that when he first met the dog after poisoning it, Jerry looked at the dog until they made contact, and then he and the dog wordlessly agreed to leave each other alone. But this new indifference saddens Jerry. He tells Peter that now neither love nor hurt happens between him and the dog because he explains that they do not try to reach each other. Jerry further concludes his monologue and sits down. Peter, being upset of listening to the story, he tells that he does not understand the story. Jerry then accuses that Peter is lying. He insists that Peter must understand his story because Jerry has explained everything as clearly as he could. Peter then apologizes for upsetting Jerry, and then they begin to get up from the bench. Now, Peter wants to escape from this conversation. He says that his parakeets will be getting dinner ready and his cats are setting the table. Once again, Peter calms down. Then Jerry explains that he has come to the zoo to learn about how people and animals exist with each other. Now Jerry pokes Peter on his arm and tells him to move over on the bench. Jerry keeps punching Peter and ordering him to move over. Even when Peter moves around on one bench, Jerry keeps punching him to walk over. Then Peter gets angry as Jerry gets more violent. He begins to yell for the police. Jerry mocks at Peter, calling him a vegetable. The argument between them fired up. Then Jerry warns Peter that if he wants the bench back, he will have to fight for it like a man. Now, as Peter gets ready to fight, Jerry pulls out a switchblade, but instead of using it himself, he tosses it at Peter's feet. Peter, who is now reluctant to pick up the switchblade, but as soon as he picks up the knife, Jerry runs and screams like a fattable wounded animal. Observing this, Peter panics. He repeats saying, "Oh my God," over and over again. Jerry now reveals his intention of he coming to the zoo. He says that some time ago he decided that he would find someone like Peter to talk to, or he may have a whole conversation or interaction. Jerry now thanks Peter for confronting him and tells Peter that he is not really a vegetable and says that he is an animal too. Jerry then wipes Peter's fingerprints off the switchblade and advises Peter to run. Peter could not move from there. He behaves like a pitiful howl and runs off stage. As Jerry dies, Peter whispers, "Oh my God," and this way the play ends. Let us see the themes used in this play: alienation and understanding. From the character Jerry, we find out that Jerry is almost a lonely person. When Peter could discuss about his family, Jerry does not have anything to say about his family. However, even in Peter's life, he is alienated or have some expectations over life. From Jerry's discussion, it is understood that Jerry had troubled relationship with the dog and he is mischievous who also struggles to communicate with people. Towards the play's end, Jerry antagonizes Peter towards violence. He causes a fight in which the men reveal their true natures to each other and they began to understand each other better. The play also carries miscommunication between Jerry and Peter because each one of them find hard to understand each other and could not develop a friendly conversation. Peter becomes annoyed and he truly wants to leave the spot, whereas Jerry needs a companion to talk or to share his problems or troubles. And the cause of his death also emphasizes that he is alienated throughout his life. The characters in this play, Peter especially, is a stable middle class life man and is attached to social norms, whereas Jerry, who showcases his old social manner, unpredictable impulses, and his fixation on animals. The next theme is insecurity and violence. We see Peter is married with daughters while Jerry is single and he's unsure of his life. Looking at their occupation, Peter is a middle class textbook publisher while Jerry is poor and he has no source of income. Both these men have common thing in this play, that is insecurity around masculinity. They both are anxious. The next theme is logic versus faith. Peter, being a rational textbook publisher who spends every Sunday at park, he reads there sitting on a bench. His views are orderly and rational, and he seemed to have no use for inexplicable things like spirituality. In contrast, Jerry behaves erratically. He asks unanswerable questions and also brings up God and faith at several key moments in the play. Peter failed to emotionally connect with Jerry. The play also refers that at the time of violence, both the characters cry out, "Oh my God." The play also encompasses mystery and complexity of life. The symbols used in this play are the zoo, books and reading, the bench. Jerry, who is alone in his life, wanted to come to this park to watch the animals and people around. And he also wanted to see the way animals exist with each other and with people too. Whereas people's family is a little Jew because he has cats at his house and parakeets. The next symbol is books and reading. At one scene, when Jerry expresses the cruelty of his landlady's dog, Peter expresses that these characters he has experienced only through reading, that is, only on books. Being a book reader, Peter assumes that people are abnormal if they overtalk or if they behave strangely, like Jerry coming to him and talking unwanted things. The next symbol is the bench. So the whole play happens around the bench, that is in Central Park. Peter, as a well behaved man, sits on the bench, while Jerry, he lacks self control. He paces around the bench. Added to this, Jerry tries to take over the bench, while Peter sees it as an attack on his manhood. Hope this video helps. If you have query, please write it down. And if you want to have more discussion on literature topics, please write those topics below on the comment section. Thank you for listening.